Owain Yeoman and Tim Kang aren't real cops, but they're
TV Police!
the TV Police.
3, 2, 1. Karl Sonnenberg! I thought I'd mix it up this week. It is a supreme pleasure to welcome Mr. Karl Sonnenberg to the TV Police. We are thrilled that you have joined us because in many... Absolutely. Give it up, please. Karl was our esteemed police technical advisor. And as a member of the TV Police, I almost feel like you're the Obi-Wan to my young Jedi, because I feel like I'm sitting here now, right, Tim?
Yeah,
and we're sitting with the man who imparted all of his wisdom.
Our mentor, yeah.
Our mentor, yeah.
Padawan.
Yes.
My Padawan, exactly right. So, Karl, would you be kind enough to give yourself a little introduction and tell us a bit about what you did with the show?
I was with the LA County Sheriff's Department, and you do a certain amount of time in custody, and then you go to patrol. I went to Firestone, which is the very first substation of the Sheriff's Department. And I loved working Firestone because you got every kind of call, right? So you really learned how to write reports. And then I worked on a warrant team. I did bring a lot of real cops from the department that I worked with. Sean, you guys remember Sean? And then I ended up in a unit where I always called it the James Bond unit. I'll leave it at that. So all the kind of, wiretaps, crawling under cars at 3 o'clock in the morning, hidden cameras and all that stuff. And I got into technical advising from Law and Order SVU. They called up our unit and said, do you have anybody that can tell us about cell phones? And I actually was the only person on the department working on cell phones, and created, and now it's a part of computer crimes, kind of figured it out as I went along. And then, like I said, Law and Order SVU called me up. Their writers are here in Los Angeles, and they invited me to the writers' room and just kind of picked my brain on stuff. And I will say, for all my fellow law enforcement, I would always take you guys and the writers, really more so the writers. They ask, how can I do X, Y, Z? And I would take them all the way to a certain point, and I'd never reveal the really important part. The reason I did that was, when you go to court, the greatest thing about working in the unit I did, and this is awesome, is that a defense attorney will say, can you tell us where you were when you listened in on my client? And I would say, I'm not going to say that in open court. Because when you're on patrol, you don't have that. But those are investigative techniques that you don't want to reveal on TV, because a clever defense attorney can say, this is interesting. I wonder who the technical advisor is on that. And they find out that's really investigative techniques, and you've screwed a lot of your other departments that are doing the same thing. And they're saying, it's no longer privileged.
So you would have to, on occasions, give us a right or left turn that might make it slightly different to how you do it in the real world?
Yes. On every show that I worked with. And of course the writers, and I'm not doing technical advice anymore, so I can say this, the writers wouldn't know any different. But did it serve the story? Did it move the storyline, along to get to the point? Yeah, then you don't need to go any further than that.
Right.
So what you're saying 15, 17 years after the fact, Karl, is that everything you told us was a complete lie, and that the writers didn't know any better, and now egg on all of our faces.
Pretty much. Kind of fun. No.
Love it.
I would take you down to like 85, 90% of what happens.
Sure.
And you don't need the other 10, 15%,
sure.
Right? Well, I will say this. I started the show started in 2008, right? And I'm really glad that I had a couple of shows under my belt, because, and I'm trying to remember who said, hey, Karl Sonnenberg, have him on there. It was Gary Glassberg, because we worked on Shark together. I have no idea who did that, but whoever that is, I think it was. But the reason I'm glad I had a couple of shows under my belt was because when I first got on Shark, and Spike Lee was the director, I had no idea what I was doing. In my head, because I was still a cop, we don't do it that way. Yeah, we don't do it that way. But when I finally got to the Mentalist, it was like, I need to give them 3 possibles. That would work. That would work. And so that for the writers, and then for you guys, it was real important that we get the physicality of it, right? So, how you hold your weapon, how you move, how you communicate with each other, and just work as a team. I mean, I loved that. When I was a deputy, we would come in early, out of the field, and we'd go up in an office, and we would train. And we had been on the department for quite some time. You got to train, you got to train, you got to train. New people come on the team, you got to train with them. So with you guys, what it was Tim's special thing, and you said, the interrogation. And I said,
Well, I was going to say wearing tight shirts, but sure, he was particularly good at interrogating too.
And I was like, wait a minute.
In addition to, yes.
Yes.
Or interrogating with tight shirts, making it part of the interrogation.
Well,
are
especially,
those your real guns?
Yeah. You say, what do you mean, these?
Yeah.
But I thought it was because you were in the service, right? For Cho. And I don't remember, when you're firing, firing an explode. I don't know.
I was an arson expert, Carl. I'm very sad that you don't remember that. I mean, we should go out maybe one day and talk about all my arson knowledge. I can walk you through the six. I think we established there was 6 types of arson, right? It raises the question that we've often talked about in the last few episodes too, which is the difference between obviously what is factually proper and correct and what is entertaining. TV cuffing. And I'd love you to weigh in on this, because I know that. Listen, I will say this in advance.
There are many tutorials by Karl on real cuffing and
listen,
making adjustments.
In real life, if the suspect is cooperative, no problem. If the suspect is not cooperative, it's a big problem. And I will tell you a very quick on-set story. And I don't know if you were in that scene, Tim, but you were. We were.
I'm not sure I like the sound of this.
Hold on.
It's a good build.
I was on camera as and I really appreciate the writers and their creativity. What should his character be? CBI Karl. So
CBI Karl. Yep. Avoid any confusion. Along with Ron as well, who was CBI Ron.
CBI Ron.
Yep.
And my partner, as a matter of fact. Yeah, I mean, we solved cases together that you guys didn't even know about.
Yeah.
Well, we knew about them. We just didn't talk to you about them. There was Cho and Rigsby, and then there was Karl and Ron, and they were it was the bizarro Cho and Rigsby. So we tried to have as little to do with you as possible.
That was probably a good idea. I'm on camera, and they wanted me to run, and I was like, well, I haven't even stretched. I pulled my hamstring, right? And we're running into this warehouse. And there's a ramp that goes down this into this room, and the bad guys are in there. And every time I went down that ramp and turned, my handcuffs flew out. Do you remember this?
I do remember that.
I was really pissed, and which covered my embarrassment that I'm the guy that's supposed to do this right. And I think we did it 4 or 5 times. Happened every time, and I'm like,
that's so funny.
I can't believe this. Yeah, it was very embarrassing. Yes.
No, but I love that you bring up.
I seem to remember that.
You may have already been in the warehouse because the guys were laying on the floor, but you were covering it.
Yeah.
I remember the
Yeah.
flying handcuffs. That's what, and
It was-
and your disappointment at that.
Disappointment indeed.
Figure out what the issue was. Was it the buckle, or was it
It
the
was-
snap, or what happened?
No. It was called stupidity. I really had the cuffs, just one cuff in my belt, so, and the other was hanging out, and I went to grab them, and as soon as I turned that corner, it was like, whoo, yeah, it was awesome. It was,
I wanted to play a little game, TV police versus real police. So
Okay.
I put together a few questions,
Sure.
so you can identify what the TV police and what the real police do, and we'll come to that. But we take this very seriously. The importance of being able to uphold the integrity and representation of being a member of the department. It's the challenge of being able to do all of those things technically right, but also do them in a very, very finite time. So you've got to deliver that button on the scene. You've got to deliver it in 2 seconds. And I'm pretty sure that you've probably never been asked to deliver a flashy one-liner right after you've cuffed someone, right? To button the scene.
I would say the hardest people to handcuff are very squirrely, spry. Just like bigger guys, no problem. It's really not a problem because there's ways to get people to be cooperative, and you can do it. There was this one, this big guy that we were looking for. I found him, big dude, really big dude, and I said, I tell you what, I will take you to McDonald's and buy you whatever you want if you put your hands behind your back and allow me to cuff you. And I put 2 handcuffs together, and it was that. We went through the drive-thru. What do you want? And listen, I went home safe. He went to jail safe. Boom.
I
There are
love
ways
that.
to do it.
Carl,
Yeah.
you basically, what you've done there is you've done something of a Patrick Jane like trick. It's one of those things of like, I'll give you a little something, you give me a little something, we trade
Right.
off. But I've been really excited as the team has been now more on display as a tactical unit, because I'm very mindful, and I have to say this to viewers and listeners at home, very mindful of the fact that Tim already came into this pretty accomplished and
he was
pretty
pretty
sort
squared
of au
away.
fait with weaponry, right?
Yeah, he was
so,
squared
you
away.
know, how did we do as a team? Be honest with us.
I think Amanda was really kind of squared away with it, and she was a good student, and you guys worked very well together. I remember when we did that behind the scenes thing, and we were going up the stairs. And really, a lot of this stuff is common sense, right? Owen, you're taller than Tim. It would be silly to have you up front, right? Because
I can't
it's
see
just
anything. Yeah.
exactly. I mean, and we talked about that. A lot of it is, are you willing to do it, and are you willing to be maybe a little bit embarrassed? Are you willing to ask questions? And you guys really did. So that makes a huge difference. But if someone doesn't really want to learn, it's hard to teach them. Because for whatever reason,
Owen was much better at the reacting. I think in my mind, I always wanted to get it right. And so it was in my head more than I needed to be in the beginning. And then when you gave me license, Karl, to just react to stuff, you don't need to just turn that corner. Then it became a little bit easier. But
you have to know why you're doing it, and then it doesn't really matter where you are, as opposed to going through the motions. You go through the motions, and you're going to get hurt.
You hit on something really important there, Karl, because for me, certainly, it was a great anchor into the character. That, you know, I loved our sessions with you because there's a couple of ways that I like to come into a character. Any physical cues that you can have. So this is a guy who draws his weapon 10, 15, 20 times a day. Okay, this is second nature. So if I can get that down and it looks second nature, now that my body has been informed with that physicality. I don't know if common sense is all that common. I do remember opening a door with my face once. Do you remember that? We were doing
that.
some.
I know what it
kicking
was.
the door in or something. Do you
It
remember
was
that?
it was by the row of brownstones. And you go up the
Warner
stairs,
Brothers.
and it was the first door on the left. I don't know what episode, but I totally remember that. Yes.
I remember we did this whole bit where, because, you know, the stunts are always very controlled. And I think in my infinite stupidity, I had sort of earmarked the wrong door. One of them was like all squared away and ready to be like cut out and ready to be pushed through. The other one was just a regular door. So I pushed into it, but failed to get any give from the door. And so then proceeded to try and open it with my face.
Yeah,
And I can tell you, if the hand doesn't work, the face is generally not going to be a good backup.
Just like how upset and angry I was about the handcuff thing. I remember you were pretty upset about that.
Which is a wonderful point to bring us into our episode this week, episode 4, Ladies in Red. I'll be honest with you, this was a hard one for me to get one word.
the serious crime squad, once again, attending funerals, like family funerals.
Well,
exactly.
So let's dig into that. I'm glad you brought that up, Tim. Was it uncommon for police people to go to funerals of victims? Was that a thing?
I have been to a lot of funerals sitting in a van taking pictures, but I don't recall, honestly, no.
I'm appreciative
not in my
of
experience.
that, though, that they didn't make us as a team sit in a small stuffy van. It's nice.
Yes. We didn't have many of those stakeouts, did we? We didn't have many. No.
The buffet table, watching the funeral, and not cooped up.
Well, I think what it shows. So let's dive into our words, and we're just going to show the words now, and we'll revisit them later. So, Karl, as our guest of honor, please, what's your one word for ladies?
Let's see if I can find the camera.
Cold.
Karl is cold.
Cold Karl.
Do I need to say?
Tim, you wanna go?
No.
Yep. Here we go.
Home. Interesting.
Tim
Okay. That's
home.
interesting. We're similar. Mine is coffee stain.
Owen
see
is
that?
mansion.
Mansion. I'm going to leave that there. Yeah.
Right.
Very good. So, episode 4. I'm guessing you don't want to do the summary, Tim.
Yeah,
Give it a go.
I'm
Go on,
okay,
give it a go.
because I'm going to do the summary the way you do the summary, which is look it up on Wikipedia or IMDb.
IMDb, there you go.
And then sell it,
Synopsis.
and then sell it as if you've done it. You know, so please.
Ladies in Red, episode number 4, season 1. The CBI team investigates Jason Sands, his murder, and he ends up living a dual life with his wife and then his mistress. It narrows down to the wife and the mistress as far as who could be the culprit. Jane then sets up the wife and the mistress. The mistress ends up going to the child, and the wife ends up going to the money. So we find them out.
Yes, indeed. The one very exciting thing, just dipping straight into this episode, is that our CBI HQ set was ready.
Just going to mention
because
that.
finally we're in there. So we joked that in the first few episodes we were on location a lot, but by episode 4, man, we're really digging into the CBI HQ. We want to show that off in all its glory.
I think it was built.
Did we have
Wasn't
it
it
ready
built?
before then?
Because that's where you guys did the camera test. Was in CBI. I think they wanted to more establish things.
Sure.
Because
looking in the first 3 episodes, we're very much out in the field, and I think what it does also is it does. Tim's word last week was Cali, and California is, for all intents and purposes, is almost like another character in the show. But it was really, really lovely to have a double dose of, first of all, our original set. It made me feel very sentimental, a sentimentalist. And I forget the show is set in Sacramento, because we were barely ever there. Had a recent thing with a listener who said, it's so lovely to see a show about Sacramento. And I had to double take and went, oh, that's right. We were in Sacramento.
Before I got the gig, I actually went up to Sacramento to talk to the CBI. I think I showed you guys the photos and all that stuff. But I remember I went up once, and they would do a ton of exteriors. And that was the only time I had gone up there. It was.
Where does CBI fit in with LA County Sheriff, LAPD /
Sure.
They just don't handle the same kind of cases that we do. I mean, I couldn't even tell you what kind of cases. I'm trying to remember, but it's just there wasn't any of that crossover from what we did. Maybe SAC PD or the sheriff's department there maybe used some of their stuff, but I never had any interaction with them.
With any of the officers.
Yeah.
And would they, would the CBI rank above local PD, or how would that work?
Hell no.
No, okay. Right.
Oh, come on. LASD.
I'm always reminded of that wonderful show line where it's like, we're like the FBI, but we need better brand awareness. You joined us, Karl, in for episode 1, right?
Yes.
So we'd already shot the pilot at that point, and then you came in, technically episode 2.
Right?
Yeah, episode 2.
Yep.
You were wonderfully forthcoming with your experience and your knowledge, but you were also never restrictive. I will say that as a team, we always felt very excited to have sessions with you. Was The Mentalist your longest running gig as a police advisor? Yeah.
Yeah, and then after that I did Lethal Weapon. And one thing that I think I'm different than other TAs is that I requested a chair at Video Village because I always wanted to watch you guys. And if there was something that I felt like, I'm just going to give you an idea, maybe you guys can try this in your movement or whatever. I learned so much from that show. And Chris Long directed this episode, and Geary was the DP. But just watching and listening to those guys without piping up, I learned. It was like going to school for 7 years.
I think that's why I got on so well with Tim, because like me, he was a sponge for that. I want to learn from this person. I want to do this. There wasn't a day that went by that I think Tim, even to this day, Tim and I lost our excitement. We were always excited to do stuff. Oh, great. We've got this scene today. It's going to involve a stunt and a fire thing and a takedown. I mean, come on. It's the stuff of young kids' dreams.
You're playing cops and robbers.
The stuff that we learned from you, I took it into every other thing that I did after. Just all the skills. It was absolutely repeatable, and that was all due to you.
And I did that with the background actors because they're sitting back there, they're doing nothing. I don't have anything to do, and I would say, "Hey, you guys want to do some cop stuff?" And I said, "You might not use it for this thing, but you might get another gig. Who knows, right?" You guys were sponges, and I loved it. There's things that just drive as a cop drive me crazy, and I know why they do it. It's just kind of along the same vein as that.
Give us an example.
Okay, the board with all the information of the case. Never in a million years would that happen. Never.
We'll be sitting out. Right.
Right. So it just went. But I understand why it is.
All of the top secret information on this board here. We're going to put it in the middle of the bullpen where everyone can see it. Yeah.
See you in the morning. Yeah. It's just
everything is all laid out.
yeah. So it's the same kind of thing as we've never had anybody come in and help us. I mean, we may seek out something that's unusual that someone
A specific
may be
expert in the field or something. Yeah.
but that we may be able to use in the case. But no, that doesn't really. And everything's kind of held close to your chest. So,
And of course, you have to suspend your disbelief because at
Exactly,
the end of the day, we are making entertainment. This episode is interesting because for the first time now, the team are beginning to act a little like Jane. So in the first few episodes, it was very much Jane was trying to be the cop. He was like, anyone hooking up or stuff like that. He doesn't even know how to question them. Whereas in this episode, he's got the whole team laying a sort of a trap, an acting trap. And you've got Cho and Van Pelt going, nailed it. Just nailed it.
Wow,
yeah, it's interesting to see how the team now are so
Jumped on the bandwagon.
willingly jumped on board. Within 3 episodes, we're like, okay, and I'm
This is
sure
fun.
that as a cop, you probably look at that and go, oh, I don't know if that would be.
probably not. Like the boat. You just can't go around and just get on someone's boat. Can't do that. Yeah.
It's
So and can't open doors with your face unless you have a warrant.
There you go.
well, yeah, or even when you do, it doesn't work out well. I can. Yeah. Friends of mine who are detectives, I'm always overwhelmed by how much paperwork there is, and obviously that's not particularly sexy or TV friendly.
No.
So
I mean, even arresting somebody. I mean, there's like a stack of paperwork before you even put them in a holding cell. Good cops do this. They don't just think of the arrest. They think beyond. So beyond is, talking to your sergeant. This is my hook. He says, cool. What are you going to say in court? That's the end goal in court. Are you going to use the I don't know? You can't do that, or just make something up. You can't do that because they'll bring in, you go to court on something that you hooked them up like 3 years ago. And I always said, can I have a copy of my report so that I can reference that? Because I don't remember when I, hooked like 3 years ago, unless it was like super significant. So yeah, it
something that we
depends.
can't have, which is something we can't have so much in the TV world because that long burn of the sort of indictment through to trial to that would take 2 or 3 seasons. So it's
Interesting
our
show.
cases were very clean. They were always kind of by the end of the episode, it was like we got him, boss.
Solved.
He crumbled. Those tight shirts and that romantic lighting in the interrogation room, putty in Cho's hands.
And that face of no emotion.
Forget it. Forget
That's
it.
right.
Not going to happen.
Yeah.
What was interesting about this episode, I thought, was there were a few recurrent themes. Number one was how strangely flirtatious Jane is. She sits down and semi-flirts with the Tolliver wife in the pilot. Rigsby puts him up to, I'll seduce any woman in this crowd. Go seduce the widow, and he does. Another one was young people and children, and I don't think I understood the significance of that until I started seeing that Jane interacts with a lot of young kids, and it almost serves to underline his own personal loss. Because Tim and I haven't watched many of these early episodes since when they aired. Yeah. Now, as an audience member, I'm seeing stuff where you're like, oh, wow, this is a really strong visual underlining of what this man has lost. That felt very powerful when he's in the room with the girl playing with the little dolls with her.
He does have a very I don't know, is it a soft way or on their level? He gets on their level. He doesn't talk to him up here. He sits down and talks to him. That's actually a good a technique that law enforcement uses. I will say that I think too the small kids that we had on that show were really good.
Yeah, they were fantastic.
I mean, that's a lot of stuff to learn and to have that, attention on you. The little girl was terrific.
But also, it's a very adult place to be because if you think about the content of the stuff we're shooting, you've got a girl who has to understand the idea that the guy who's playing her father has been killed, things that maybe you wouldn't want to expose young kids to, but also the subject.
I'd be interested to find out if maybe Chris Long didn't give the young actress all that kind of information.
Oh, yeah, it's interesting. Maybe,
a performance by putting it into different terms, but the visual end result is the same. I have a feeling that Chris would probably go that route.
Simon's a very smiley guy anyway, right? I think he was called Smiley when he was a kid. I think that was his nickname.
Right?
I remember him telling me that. And there's something disarming about it, because in that character, the smile becomes very tragic. And it becomes very pained and painful because he never lets anyone in on it. We had a wonderful listener who wrote in and talked about how her father was a police person and had been to a couple of counselling sessions after seeing particularly traumatic or terrible things on the job. I know even as an actor, sort of detaching from heavy work is one thing. Doing that in real life, what does that look like?
Well, I will say the unit that I worked for as a detective, there were some things that are incredibly disturbing that I had to watch. For me, you just have to separate that. You like shut that down. There's a danger in that too, because if you don't have a good outlet for that, that can become really problematic for you. For me, I specifically remember watching this video. Family Services brought it to us. I had to watch it all for court, and I had to prep it for court, and I still have those images in my head. But you just have to separate that. One's a job and one's my life. I had a great training officer when I was out in patrol. I worked with a great group of guys in the unit that I'm talking about. I think it's who you surround yourself with too.
You know, she said that were it not for the camaraderie of the people around him, that job would have been a very tough day. I think that is where I felt very lucky to have someone like Tim, because in having a cop partner on the show, I felt like there was that camaraderie built in that a lot of people in those real life positions had often talked about.
There's a mechanism that I think is amongst law enforcement and maybe men and women that work, like the fire department and probably the military too, is humor, is joking around. It's not, you have to be careful with that because some people don't understand that, and I think it's more of a release mechanism.
It's like gallows humor.
Yeah, and then you just let it go. This is my job, and this is what I have to do. So yeah, it's
There does seem to be quite a class thing in The Mentalist. The reason that my word is mansion is because I feel like we went to an unholy amount of mansions during our 7 years. There's nothing more juicy in entertainment forms than seeing the toppling of someone great. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, he's made tens of millions of dollars, but of course he's got a guilty secret. He's got the mistress. He's got a marriage that's on the wobble. And now apparently he hasn't got the money that he says he has. It was something that kept coming up, and I wondered if it was an intentional theme.
I'm a simple man, and I think it is this. It's visually, to have this beautiful mansion with this amazing staircase is a little bit more visually interesting than a seedy motel room.
You can have production value in both. Do you know what I mean?
But it depends on the show, right?
Sure.
Like Southland, I think, was really pretty true to form with that. They handled a lot of different things. I don't think The Mentalist was that kind of show. I just think it's visually more interesting, and I think it fits the characters.
Last week we had Brett Cullen, who I confirmed was Batman's dad in Christian Bale's Batman. So he played Thomas Wayne. This week we had Angela Sarafin, who's just played Superman's mom in James Gunn's Superman. So we went from Batman's dad to Superman's mom. But she was great as was it Adriana, the mistress?
I loved their showdown with the actor playing Jennifer, Lisa Brenner, in when they were kind of staring each other down.
Oh no, it was great. It was great.
Yeah, at the very end. Yeah.
It was just one of those things of like, wow, here it goes. It's going on right now.
Well, I like the interaction with it was in CBI, and Simon goes over to her and they're talking about, Robin said, "Tell her not to leave," and then I just liked their conversation. I thought it was kind of interesting.
Yeah,
I thought the Jennifer character was
with her too.
I thought the Jennifer character was fascinating because she, for all intents and purposes, seems like the meek, downtrodden victim's wife. And then, there's this switch that towards the end, you see it come out and you're like, oh, wow, there's a real, there's a real sting in the tail. And again, we've talked about this. I truly believe that when you stay on the air long enough, you become a bit of a rite of passage show. So the amount of people and you must have had that even more with Magnum. Did you have a lot of people who'd come through The Mentalist and then were on Magnum? Did you have any? I know you had Michael Rady, right?
Yeah,
like already.
Occasionally that happened, but not as often as you would think.
Weird that you didn't give any of the Magnum crew my number. Because I thought for sure that we would have. They had my number. Oh, it's weird, and that's even weirder that they didn't call.
They didn't call. Yeah.
Okay. I see where you're going with that. Yeah.
That was a good one, Nicky. That was a good one. Yeah.
I mean, I kept thinking there must be room for a dashing British villain, sinister computer
Apparently
expert. Apparently not. Not on the islands of Hawaii.
I never got to that storyline.
Man, a couple of seasons more, and I could have been in there.
Yeah, right.
Was there a moment where you were like, "Oh, I'm really, really happy to see that the guys executed that, or did that in a way that made me proud," or maybe there was a starring episode because you ended up then becoming one of our regular supporting cast as well.
Well, I mean, gosh, I totally went selfish on this. This is where I met my wife.
I love that. I was hoping you were going to say that.
Episode 320, she was the cat lady, and after her episode, and we've been together ever since.
That's amazing.
So I have to say that. I mean, she's an amazing woman. Yep.
Of course. And
but as far as you guys, oh man,
it's weird that you didn't rank us above meeting your wife, but that's okay.
I really enjoyed watching you guys and seeing kind of how you implemented stuff that we worked on. I love that. So I would say overall in the episodes, for sure. I just did not like not watching you guys. I don't want to wait till the episode. I want to watch what's happening now. Right. So yeah, so that overall it would be seeing how you guys implemented what we worked on. But it still doesn't trump my wife. But hey, whatever.
Good.
It's fine. We'll take a glad second place.
Yeah. This to me was in my mind when we started to delve into the very unique names that Bruno would give us. And it starts with Dieter. And Bruno would at least once every episode come out with just not a very common name, right? Mm-hmm. We go from Jennifer Sands to Dieter.
I hadn't been so sensitive to it, and I guess maybe because I was a Brit. Because I was like, oh, Dieter, he's a German dude,
Right.
No problem with
German
it.
strip club owner, obviously.
We can start keeping track of the unique names. They will come out regularly.
I have to pay attention. I have to pay attention to that. Yeah.
That's
the
so
other
funny.
thing. One other thing too is, and it's evidenced right now with me and Owen, is I believe this was one of the first episodes too, and then continued throughout the rest of the series is Lego hair. Owen and I were very famous on the show for having
wearing my Lego hair right now.
Where we could and obviously I've got a little less than I did on the show now as the years have gone by. But yeah, you just kind of take it off here and put it down.
That is true.
Put it down.
Yeah.
Our hair never moved. We would be in gale force winds. Yeah. Amanda, Robin, everything. It is us. Just. Yeah. Exactly as you see it.
Perfect.
Yeah, Lego hair. Put it on in one piece, take it off in one
piece.
What
you should have done is on that door is just went head first.
Head first, door wouldn't have stood a chance.
That's the issue. Splintered. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
And again, I thought the lovely to see Manelli, obviously. Greg,
I liked him.
Did you spend much time working with Greg? He did, didn't he? We all remember him very fondly. Sadly, passed away a few years ago. But he was I'm reminded more and more of what a wonderful actor Greg is. You would believe that this guy was stressed and he had the weight of the unit on his shoulders.
I couldn't stop watching him.
I agree. There was something about him so detailed and like even the way he picks up the phone, he's like, "Wait a second." Fine, yeah. And I'm like, there was a real light behind his eyes. I really appreciated him.
There was a moment with him and Robin where she says, "Do you have our back?" Right, because of Simon doing his thing, and that was exactly what you're talking about is exactly what he did. He's very real to me. Like I could see that was like a sergeant or something like that. He seems.
100%. But there was no divide between action and cut. with Greg. The reality off camera, he brought straight onto camera and was just so disarmingly real. And, actors in who have been so present in other series, it just fills the world out. Tim and I have talked about it. He did exactly right.
That's
and
true.
I think that it becomes so much easier to move in this world and make this world believable when you're surrounded by great actors.
He had that on that same scene with him and Robin, and they just had a tight shot on him. Just his face was, you believed that he had her. He wasn't really happy about it, but yeah, I got it.
Carl, remind us of your word. This would be a good opportunity to revisit that.
I had a really hard time with this one, but my word was cold, because, and I really hate you guys for this, because there's a song that Journey does. You know where I'm going, right? She's as cold as ice. Okay, so it's like going. That song just kept, and I kept singing it. I went, okay, I hate them. It's like I don't even necessarily like that band, but that song is like a earworm. And both of those, the female actresses were cold. They were very cold individuals, right? And then Ice, obviously, with the diamonds. And the last part of that was, I remember that the takedown scene on Midwest Street on the brownstones, or whatever we call those, that it was really cold that night, and it was like a Fraturday or something. So that's why I chose that word.
I love that you just reminded me of Fraturday, Fridays that go so long they go into Saturday. It's a great
Friday.
Industry term. We had a few Fraturdays, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I had a
remember
quick question
Fridays.
on that, Carl. Something that I noticed watching it. That was one of the first times where, when we're on a stakeout, I'm speaking of Rigsby and Van Pelt staking out Dieter and Carter. Do you usually park literally right across the street from
No,
where
you
the
don't.
bay window is?
You
in the house, and
don't.
you're
You don't.
parked
I know.
that
It was
usual
just like-
sort of tactic?
I was like,
The TV police
Boom.
do. You know why? Because then the TV police can be in the same frame as the suspect.
Exactly.
That's
It's
why,
the setup is so much easier. No, not that close. But I did like that moment when Amanda's hooking up the guy,
That's
and the
great.
kid is looking out the window, and she just gives that, and then she just grabs him and just pulls, takes him off. I thought that was a great moment.
I love that moment as well, and it just really kind of gave you that Van Pelt sweet background and just that attitude. It was interesting too, because that was cut from Rigsby's moment, right? Rigsby threw the his perp down. Remember, Rigsby got him off the chain link fence, and then
That's right,
direct cut coming up into Van Pelt's move.
Yeah.
So that was a Chris Long special right there. So it was,
And it had a lot of that chase, that little preceding chase had such a TV police setup to it.
Oh, it's so
Like,
great.
if I were to describe a perfect TV police takedown, round the back of a house, sprinkler on, right? So you have to run through a sprinkler because obviously that's going to add to the drama.
Right.
And then out of nowhere, a fence. I do remember the challenge of trying to find houses on that back lot that weren't recognizably the same as maybe last week, because we did repurpose those houses quite a lot, didn't we?
And we went across the street too, to the other lot. No, we don't park that close. We actually have these things called binoculars that we park kind of further away.
We don't have those in the TV police.
Yeah,
we
I
like
know.
to do our work
And
up close and personal.
Camera with no, that's not going to work.
Tim, remind us of your word.
Yes, my word, let's see here, is home.
Home.
Yeah. The first couple episodes, Carl, my word was not as on the nose, but the past few episodes they have been. This is also on the nose. It's San Francisco, is where I was born and raised.
Oh, that's right.
And the opening shot, the Transamerica Building, Bay Bridge, Golden Gate Bridge, all of these things, especially when it originally aired, really found a place in my heart. And even the police detective, the San Francisco police detective walking up the stairs, I clocked the 7-point badge on her shirt, which is fairly unique. I know LA County Sheriff is a 6-point star, right? So, but I very rarely see the SFPD 7-point star, and it's very recognizable, at least to me. My cousin is a SFPD and has been for about 20 years, and so I kind of recognize that as home. And then finally, seeing all the CBI sets that we then, moving forward, that's our home as a cast.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then the last little button was seeing Jane's couch. That was
the first time. That was the first time.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, that's because at that point they've repurposed my old leather jacket, and they finally made it into the couch.
And
so
your jacket,
clever, very clever.
The last scene of your jacket displayed was in the car, I think, when you were posting up across the street, and then we cut to Jane's couch.
And they probably missed the scene of us all at the funeral of my leather jacket. I know the Compassionate Bureau of Investigation. We'd have been there. I remember you saying last week, Tim, that California was a big part of last week's episode, and I'd never even thought about what it must be like as a native Californian to watch the show, because we give the state a real homage. And now just sort of moving into the latter parts of the episode, and I'm glad we got you here, Karl, to discuss this, where you flash to the hostage note, right, where it's all going sour, and then the daughter gets kidnapped, and you see, we have your daughter, give us the money, do not call the police or we'll kill her, and then cut straight to the mom calling the police. What is the, talk to us about the reality of a situation like that? Like, if you were in a have you ever been in a situation where you had a hostage or a ransom demand or something like that?
No, I have not. And the reason being is that that's a specialty, right? I mean, there are hostage negotiations. You go to special training for that. Just like my. Is
there a guy in a short sleeve shirt with
really big guns?
Yeah.
I was patrol deputy. I don't work hostage negotiations, and so that's a very specialized unit. I mean, for the show, I would have actually gone to somebody who was in that, so that I would have the correct information.
But we are flying by the seat of our pants during that time. Even the writers don't know either, right? Where it's going to go, and so I think for a time we start to get, and we can see this right from these beginning episodes. We get a foothold in something, and then we double down on it, right?
Right.
We get another foothold and double down on it until we've now built the mentalist world, and we're just navigating that right now.
So I wanted to, in these last few minutes, Karl, I've put together a little fun piece here that I thought that we could call TV police versus real police. Okay, and I'm just going to throw you some questions, Karl, and tell me whether the TV police or the real police would be the best people to deal with this, okay? Delivering a perfectly timed one-liner before cuffing the bad guy. TV police or real police?
Real police, I've done it.
Yep.
Yep.
You've seen it?
I've done it.
You've done. Give me your best end scene one-liner in real life.
Let's hear
it. I think it was driving through McDonald's. What are you gonna have? There you have it.
That scene.
That's it. Yeah.
Done.
Perfect.
That's it.
Button.
Scene out. Love it.
Yeah.
Kicking down a door without a warrant because there's no time, quote unquote. TV police or real police?
Exigent circumstances. I'm telling you, I can apply it to real police.
Wow, that's interesting. I didn't know. So
well,
you have
you're
been in
chasing.
situations where...
Sure, you're chasing a guy, and you just saw him shoot somebody. You know who he is. He runs into an apartment building, and you know that he has a gun because he's kind of capped a couple at you. And go. It's exigent circumstances. If I could talk, yeah. So that could be, yes, that could be.
Okay.
Although in TV land, it also is very prevalent.
That's for sure. Miraculously finding a parking spot right outside the crime scene. TV police or real police?
Oh wow! Because they tape off real police, man. Because they tape it off your detectives. Boom! Lift the tape. I'm in.
Well, so I wanted to ask you about that. Logistically, can you park? How close can you park to a scene? Like if you're there on business?
Okay, that would be TV police. No, there's two perimeters. There's listen. I had this is a great thing. It was a homicide scene. It wasn't my case. It was another guy's case. I think it was the captain or the sheriff came down. It was a high profile, and he tried to step into the crime scene, into the secondary. And my friend said, unless you want to write a report, I suggest you get out of my crime scene. Boom.
Oh, wow.
There you go.
Wow.
Yep. So both.
Now, this is one that's going to spill into a two-part question. Actually remembering Miranda rights word for word every single time. TV police or real police?
That would be TV police because do you know you don't have to read someone their
So I wanted to
rights?
ask you
Yes.
about this because
If
I
I don't
noticed this
ask
the
you,
other day.
yeah, if I don't ask you about the crime, I don't have to read you your rights. I can tell you what you're arrested for, and detectives don't like this. You let them read the rights because you don't want to do that. And they may say something in the backseat of the car, like, I didn't mean to shoot him. I'm sorry. What was that? Yeah. So no, you don't read people their rights unless you're going to ask them specifically about what you arrested them for. Leave that to the detectives.
I'm glad I got clarity on that. I don't think I ever Miranda'd anyone during the series. Did you? Did you read rights? Joe Miranda, the living daylights out of people.
You're using that as a verb.
Yeah. Yes. No. If you're going to talk to them about the crime,
You've been Miranda'd.
TV police or real police, in your experience, do diamonds sparkle the way they sparkled in the chandelier?
and do they make the little ding sound?
Yeah,
No.
and little ding. Does that happen? Is that real police or TV police?
TV police.
TV police. Okay, thank you for that.
It was actually in my notes as the final thing to talk about. The reveal
The Hollywood
of the
sparkle
diamonds
is
in
amazing.
the-
I called it the Hollywood sparkle. Yeah.
Well, I remember there being some discussion about this on the day, and I remember a series of conversations happening under that that light fixture, under the chandelier, about they don't look diamondy enough, and like. And this is the wonderful kind of conversations you have on Hollywood sets. How do we make the diamonds look more diamondy?
They should be collecting dust, right, from the ceiling or whatever. They would be dusty, whatever. Yeah, no. I will say that we always carried a card that that had the Miranda rights on it.
Right.
Yeah, I always carried that in my notebook. You've seen the leather notebooks. I always carried them in my back pocket, and I still have mine. The Miranda rights, if you have to read them, because we just don't. Because I never asked them about.
And would you do that? Would you actually or would you just know them? I feel like you knew them. Come on.
Not necessarily.
Really?
Yeah, I would rather do this. I would rather read it off the card because when I go to court and I missed something, even though I know it by heart, who knows?
Sure.
And I missed something, and it messes with the kid. I wouldn't want to be that guy.
I think what we've established is that in every way, shape, or form, the TV police are inferior to the real police. I think we can agree on that. Yeah.
But boy, they have a good percentage of crimes solved.
Across the board.
I'm going to spin through a few questions here because this gentleman, Henrik Banfick, was kind enough to sort of send a few questions, and I think they're actually applicable to all of us. So if you could relive one day of filming, what would it be? Tim, do you want to start us on that?
Gosh. That's a tough one, man. I feel like every day of filming was a gift.
Yeah.
And I'd be hard pressed to find one day, even days where it's not about us, right? It's about supporting the story. And those were precious. So it's a little bit of a cop out, but I'm going to say every day was a day for me that I would recreate.
Every day with me? Every day that I was on set? Any day that I was on set? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah.
How about you, Carl? Would there be one day that comes to mind that you could
I think we talked about this
revisit?
too.
Yeah, I feel like we did. I already know the answer to this.
What do you think the answer is?
Well, I think it would be your dear wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I remember that so specifically. That hotel, that we were rehearsal in the door, and she walks by, and then her kind of chasing me around the soundstage.
And you guys had never met before then, right?
No.
I love this. I love that the Mentalist became a springboard for
It did. Yeah.
wonderful relationships. That's so beautiful to me. We all started the show without kids. We've all got kids now. Well, Simon had kids, obviously. You are part of a TV family. My TV police family was a very real family. And so hearing that you met your family in that family is beautiful.
We have in the living room the picture that you guys were in the parking lot, and Tim, you hold up the sign. I should go get it. Do you know the sign? Come down.
You need to get it.
Yes, and we have it in the living room, and I think it's pretty cool.
Were there any inside jokes or traditions the cast and crew kept? There's a fond anecdote that I do remember. I think it was your birthday, Tim, And I decided that the best birthday treat would be to wallpaper your entire trailer with my headshot. Yeah. And, and I remember saying to Amanda, he's going to be so thrilled when he comes in to see 1,200 images of me all over his trailer.
As Owen is good at reminding me, it all happens right here.
Apparently, yeah.
This is all where it happens. And so to have 1,200 copies of this,
the face
in my trailer,
Yes. Have you ever used any of Patrick Jane's techniques or methods from the show in your personal life? And we've never talked about this. Did you ever sort of take any seed of the Mentalist tricks and tips and try and apply those even subtly in your life?
I have a saying that he said, and I believe it was in the, I think it was in the pilot. He said, he said, "You irk me. I find you irksome." Do you guys remember that?
Mm-hmm.
I've said that. I think it's just, I don't know. I've said that multiple times throughout the years. He's irksome. There we go.
Yeah.
He irks me.
It's a great line.
It's a
How
great
about
line.
you, Tim? Do you have any recollection of using any?
I'm going to give the boring answer. No, I can't think of a time. You?
I am a big fan of Derren Brown, the British mentalist. And I watched him do a bit where he hypnotized his entire audience. And then I watched him go to, in the UK, we have greyhound racing. And he goes to the greyhound races, right? And he does this thing where he takes a ticket of a losing dog and he presses it down on the desk and he goes, "That's the dog you're after. That's the winning ticket." And the woman pays him. Is that possible? I'm not a susceptible person. I'd love to say I've used tips and tricks successfully. I've never, these are not the droids you're looking for. I just don't have that. Nor am I the kind of person who is persuaded by that. If someone did that and just went, "That's the winning ticket," I'd be like, "No, it isn't.
No, it's not.
That dog came
You're
last."
out of your mind.
Yeah. So
Why
I wish I
are you
had,
talking to me?
Yeah. I wish I had those kind of anecdotes.
Go over there. Yeah. Carl, how do you handle when you were pulled over by an officer and you were active, right?
Real simple. If I got pulled over at night, I would turn on my interior lights. I put my hands on 10 and 2, and I always had my off-duty weapon underneath my left thigh, right? Right. And I would say, I'm an off-duty deputy sheriff, and I was very polite, and I didn't have attitude, and I said, "I have my off-duty weapon underneath my left leg. I'm not going to move." That was it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, I think that clarity of communication is such a huge thing. In situations like that, I become very British. I'm like, "Hello, constable. How can I help you? It's a wonderful day that we're having. Have you heard of the TV police?" No, that's usually
Me. I will say that I this is funny. There's a certain thing called command presence. I talked to you guys about that, right? And so I was at an intersection, and I guess the light hadn't turned green. There was a car ahead of me, and I tapped him. Wasn't a big deal. And I went straight into cop mode, and I pointed at him, and I told him to go pull over, right? And I'm not even a cop anymore, and he's just like pulled over immediately. And I get out of the vehicle, and I say, "Driver's license and registration, please." I don't know.
Automatic.
Automatic.
It's
Fortunately,
amazing.
nothing happened with that.
Carl, thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
It was amazing to see you.
just amazing.
Yeah, I love seeing you guys.
We are closing in on the end of this fabulous episode with our very dear friend Karl Sonnenberg, and we'd love to give a big TV Police thank you from the bottom of our hearts. It's been wonderful being here with you.
It was great being here. I love the podcast. I will definitely continue to follow. It was great.
Thank you, my friend. And please just know that you are a big beloved member of this family, and we're very, very, very happy to have had you on the podcast. Thank you so much. Stay tuned next week, where we will be diving into episode 5, Redwood. Carl, it's been such a pleasure.
Come back for the episode that we've been talking about.
100%.
320.
Oh, we would love that.
That'd be awesome.
We would love
I would
that.
like to bring the counterpart.
Well, could you both come back?
Absolutely.